Hey, I may not know you, but I can tell you already the plot of your life story. Here it goes: overcoming your limitations and the darkness, escaping that darkness. Now, I know that's your story because that is every human's story. We arrive in this world and we have limitations many. We arrive completely ignorant of our surroundings. We don't know a language. There's so much that we do not know, and we begin our development from that stage on. Now, for some people, this is a heroic journey. They pass their limitations, they push them away, and although they are surrounded by darkness, mental darkness, negative darkness, spiritual darkness, societal darkness that wants to, like throw a shroud on them and fill them with anger and hate and self-pity, they push that stuff away and they just rise and they become the shining examples of what a human can be, the kind of progress that a human can make in their development. Other people, however, just yield. They yield quickly and they start pointing to their limitations, and they say, "Oh, this is why it's so unfair. This is why I can't win." And they just sit down and make no effort to fight that thing. And as it comes to darkness, they just open the door and let it in. And the darkness comes in, and this negativity gets inside of them, and that leads them even to a spiritual darkness. And their morals, their ethics, their mindset becomes clouded, and they're just bitter, stuck people. They make no progress at all. Well, God has better things than this in store for you in his mind. He has a dream of you, and you are an overcomer, and you are pushing up. So today we're going to study this thing, pushing, escaping the darkness, because escaping, your attempted escape of the darkness is the central plot of your life. And it is not only the central plot of our life, it is the central theme in history, is light versus darkness. In literature, light versus darkness. Novels, movies, light versus darkness. It is the core of most world religions, is the understanding of the battle, this struggle between the light and the dark, from Star Wars to Lord of the Rings to, we could just keep going. This is a central issue facing all humans, and it is revealed to us in the Bible, in the very first page, in the very first paragraph. So we're going to spend today talking about darkness, the power of darkness, what darkness is, so that we can beat darkness and escape the darkness that wants to claim our lives. So stick around. Hi, I'm Chuck Quinley, and welcome to Grounded. On the Grounded podcast, we are focused on learning how to stabilize our lives. And I believe that you stabilize your life with 4 great grips. First one is you've got to get a personal narrative about the world. You have to have a way of understanding life on this planet that is sensible. It answers the questions. It seems to be the reasonable and right answer. And you got to believe your narrative and make your decisions out of your narrative. Secondly, there's mindset. You've got to have a mindset that is programmed with a certain set of thoughts, and you got to fight any other thoughts that want to pull you off track. So your mindset. Number 3, your human network. The human network that you build, it's not just the one you're born into, it's the one you build and add value to, because that is going to give you great stability. Humans are our source of strength and encouragement and resource, and we've got to learn to be better at our relationships and at taking advantage of our human resources. And finally, maybe most importantly, a body of work, a body of meaningful work. And so as you look at the work of your life, the actions that you do, what your actions produce, these 4 things, when you line them up, you can go through a storm, because right now we're going through a global storm. And that's really what is driving me in my heart. I want to be grounded. I want my kids, my physical children, and all those others that I feel like are my children also. I want them strong. I want everybody I can talk to put on their cleats and get themselves some stability. And I have found no higher source for understanding. I mean, I'm open. I read all different kinds of voices. And these days, a lot of these voices come through videos. And so I have a very wide ranging group that I turn to and I listen to. However, nothing can compare to the Bible. This is the oldest human book. These are the oldest stories of mankind. And these stories have been preserved for thousands of years. Think about a book that old. Thousands of years, these stories have stood and they've been passed on because they ring true. These are stories given to us by the Creator to help guide us in our experience of life on this planet. So let's dive into the Bible today. Genesis chapter 1. Chapter 1, verses 3 through 5. So this is how I'm going to handle it. We're going to do a short Bible study going through this passage, looking at exactly what it says and what it's a symbol of. And then we're going to drill down later into 8 facets of the darkness. This subject is so big because, like I said, this is the central issue in all literature. I mean, if you're looking for a theme to say, what's the theme of the life of humans on earth, you have to say the struggle between light and dark, between destruction and construction. And so all that is right here. This is describing human experience. It's a book to guide us to develop a mentality about what life is like on earth and to give us a pathway so that we can build a relationship with the God who created us and who created us to be so much more than we really are right now. I mean, we're like, talk about overcoming your limitations, what a human is now versus what a human is. We are just tapping the edges of that. And God's trying to lead us to rising up as humans. Okay. So just to look backwards real quick, we said that the very first line of this book sets the story for the whole Bible. And that is, in the beginning, a supernatural being created heavens and the earth. It's two realms in the same location. There is a realm that you see. It is a physical world. There is a realm that you do not see. It is a realm that is higher than that one. It's got concepts. It has beings that are not made they're not carbon-based. They're not from the background of this earth. They stand alone. It's a mystical world. That's how it opens. Then it says there are 3. And if you haven't seen the video, go back and watch my video on the 3 greatest threats to our survival, because that's how the story opens. It doesn't open in like Happy Meadow. It opens saying there has always been, before the world was created, there were 3 characteristics. There was tohu vabohu, having no form, being broken down. Basically, we'd say entropy, everything torn down. Number 2, darkness. We're going to get into that today. Number 3, the deep, the primordial deep, not just a human body of water, but the mystical, bottomless black depths. You're lost. There's no life. There's no hope if you're in the deep. But the Spirit of God was hovering over the face of the waters. So with all this absolute death, there's hope. There's the Spirit, the breath of the Creator is hovering over the face of those waters, and He is about to begin creation. This is day 1. And then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. And God saw the light, that it was good. And God divided the light from the darkness. The darkness He called night. God called the light day, and the darkness He called night. So the evening and the morning were the first day. Okay, real quick, let's just unpack what we have seen here. There's 2 ways in Hebrew that you can create. There's 2 ways. When you translate Hebrew to English, there are 2 ways that you can create this first sentence. The first one is the way a lot of Bibles have it. In the beginning, God created, and everything else is just fill in. God created. But there's an alternate way to do that. And the alternate way is followed by Robert Alter in his translation and a few other translations to it. And it says, in the beginning, as God was creating, and you had all the, this anti-creation forces, God said, let there be light. And so that becomes the first sentence is God says, let there be light. Either way that you read it, we've got an intelligent creator. He is having to overcome negative forces. So one of two things is the truth about darkness. And honestly, we can't say for sure which one it is, but I want to lay them out for you. One, darkness has always been. It is just the default. It is there before there was any universe, before there was anything else. There was the death power of darkness. This darkness would not allow anything to live. There could not be a creation. And then a champion arose, and this champion overthrew the darkness, and with only a word created a new thing called light, and said, let there be light. And when he said it, darkness was shaken up, darkness was broken, and darkness was overcome. Now, the other way of seeing it is that darkness is the first stage of creation, and that the darkness has had to be created also. And the creation of the darkness just isn't being mentioned in the story. Darkness had to be created by the creator because it serves a function. It has a purpose. And then the creator has to now on day one, when he really wants life, he has to limit that darkness and block it. Now, either one of these, if you see, whichever way you see it, it has implications for the way you see God. On the one hand, you can say, oh, wow, he should be stronger than the darkness. But again, God is not our project. We don't build God and make him to be the God we want him to be. This story is revealing him as he is. So either darkness has always been here, and darkness would not allow creation to happen because darkness is anti-creation. So that's the one idea you need to get in your head from the very beginning. Darkness is not your old friend. Darkness is anti-creation. It's anti-you. It's anti-me. It wants to not have life. It pulls everything down into this place where life cannot exist. And so, the story opens and darkness already is. And the creator has to be a champion against darkness. He has to limit darkness. And so he does. He limits darkness just by his words, and his words have creative power. And this power creates light. And this light is not photons. We are not talking about scientific light. This is not the sun. This is not a star. This has nothing to do with the natural world. There's nothing like this yet. He is in the early generative stages of creating a universe, and he creates a thing that in Jewish literature is called Shekinah. It is his own presence. It is the glow of the presence of God himself. And so for in different Talmud, Midrash, Mishnah, in Jewish literature, you've got this phrase Shekinah. It doesn't actually appear in the Bible, but the experience of people encountering God and there being a glow around God, and even people who were with God, like Moses, who got close to the presence of God, and when he turns away, his face is like a flashlight. He is glowing, and he puts a cloth over his head because there's such a glow on him. But that glow fades day by day. We're more talking about that. We're not talking about a planet. We're not talking about a star. It is the light of God. Back again to an earlier video. The Bible is written in symbolic language. It doesn't mean that the events of the Bible are untrue historically. It means more than that. It means they are in the same way that, iron can be a solid, a liquid, a gas. It's got all these properties to it. But if we can't go saying that every time, we just come up with a symbol for iron, Fe. And anyone who knows about iron, not everybody knows about iron, but if you know about iron, if you know all these things, Fe is all you need. And we're talking about the whole thing. That's Bible symbolism. It's like those Matryoshka dolls from Russia where you put something inside of something and it all stacks up. Once you get a hold of a Bible symbol, you start to unpack that, and you can just go deeper and deeper. That's actually one of the hardest things I face in trying to unpack Genesis 1, just the first chapter, is where do I stop? Because every one of these concepts goes down so deep. What we're being introduced to is not a talk about why we're afraid of the dark and why we need lights for plants to grow. And it's got nothing to do with that. This is about the human experience of life. There are two forces, and these forces are locked into, we will see it, it's a growing battle between these two forces, light versus darkness. They will never rest, and they battle against each other. But something interesting in this case, first of all, God saw that light was, and here's the first time we're going to get introduced to this concept. Light was, and the English, wimpy English word, is just good, because we don't have a word for this. We're going to be introduced to a tree in a little bit. It's the tree of Tov and Ra. And people say the tree of good and evil. And it's like, that's way too thin. It's bigger than that. It's a tree of, I'm going to say Tov. Tov is good. It is good as a word, but it's good because it creates. It aids life. It is procreation. It encourages creation. It builds up. So I'm going to say construction in general. Light is constructive. Light is constructive. This is good. We're going to find there's another force, and it's aligned with the darkness, and it's called Ra. And Ra is destructive. Ra is anti-creation. It tears down what has been created. It messes up what is good. And so you can see how it's easy for a destructive, if a person does Ra all the time, the kid that just runs around, kicks over everybody's blocks. It's easy to see how that turns into the idea of evil, but it's bigger than evil. It means that you tear things down. Is it Tov or is it Ra? These actions, because it's a lot of what this book is about is human actions, how humans can learn to rise and take their actions and not do Ra, but do Tov. Because 99% of the time when people point at the world and say, why can there be a God if there's so much injustice? They're talking about humans. They're not talking about God. They're talking about human Tov and Ra, light and dark, this central struggle in all of our lives. So God says, let there be light, and there is light. God sees the light, decides the light is Tov, and God does another thing. He divides light from darkness. We're going to see this over and over again. The need for division, the need for standard, the need for a line, drawing a line, the need for duality, the need for binary choices, where it's either that one or it's that one. It's not the in-between. There are lines that hold structure and stability in place. It's how you build your physical body. It's how you build a universe. It's how you build a society. It's how you build a family. The lines and rituals and routines of action, the family meal at 6 o'clock that you just don't miss no matter what, all the things that are system and structure, and we hold that line. That's what's needed, because these big three, entropy, darkness, the deep, they want to wipe out your creation. We're talking about our lives, okay? The little life that we're trying to build in our little world. We can rise up or we can be destroyed, and this book is teaching us how it works. Darkness. Darkness wants you. So God divides the light from the darkness. He says the light is good. The darkness, he calls the darkness night. He puts a label on it. Now this is interesting, because we're going to see how bad darkness gets as we drill down deeper. He could destroy darkness. And actually, at the very end of the book, we find he does destroy darkness. Like, that's why the beginning of this book and the end of the book, This is one story, not a collection. This is not like a quilt with a whole bunch of mismatched pieces. This is a designed story to guide humans in their development. Because when the Bible opens, we are moral infants. We are ethically, morally, intellectually, philosophically infants. You see Adam and Eve, they don't know how to have a relationship. They don't know how to pick someone who's doing a bad thing. They have no discernment. They're just infants. And so this book calls us and guides us to rise up out of that, fight the darkness, cultivate the inner light in all of our actions, build our actions, because in the very, very, very end, you find that darkness itself is banished forever. Darkness is put away, and we do not face darkness anymore. That's a glorious, glorious hope that's coming. But for the meanwhile, God does not destroy darkness. And this is a deep philosophical point that we don't have time to get into this time. But it's basically the idea that if your choices, if your moral choices are, it's like, do you want a pink marshmallow or a white marshmallow? If that's the only choices you face in life, you have no morals, because you don't have the ability to have morals until you face one choice which will reward you with comfort and pleasure and material things, but that one is the cheat. That one is the darkness. That one is take it, steal it, be selfish with it. And then the other one is the higher, more noble purpose, but it won't reward you right away. But you just have to believe that the light is more important, that it's better than the dark. I mean, why are we so drawn to dark characters? Why would an actor, if you told an actor you get to be Luke Skywalker or you get to be Darth Vader, I mean, everybody's going to go Darth Vader. We're just seduced, and we are drawn to the darkness. It is something we're going to fight all of our life. And this book wants to point that out. So eventually, God destroys darkness, but not for now, because we need it. We need to have to choose. Humans have to develop. If we're going to become the lords of this planet, that's what God put us. He put us here to be. We're going to see that as you see what a human is. We are co-regent on this world of the joining of the heavenly and the earthly. It's a huge vision for this planet. If we're going to rise up in that golden age and take this planet and lead it where it needs to go, you can tell right now we're not ready for that. We're not ready to even run a United States of America. I mean, that's just in a mess right now because of light and dark. The battle is so clear now. You can feel it. I mean, you can feel it. You don't even have to watch the news. You just get near the places where these struggles are going, and it's like you feel it in the air. There's a thing happening right now. It's this. It's the battle between light and dark. And it's going on in all of our lives, in all of our homes, in our children's lives, in our marriages, in our mind, at work. Light and dark are struggling. And for now, that struggle is very beneficial for the ones choosing light. Some are just going to yield to the darkness and let the darkness win. Like in the picture of Dorian Gray, you know, the famous quotation, the only way to make a temptation go away is just yield to it. And that's how they see it. And so the morals, ethics, the humanity is just like sinking. Why? They're giving into the darkness. The things we're starting to see, it's just darkness. It's darkness taking over our society because not enough humans are fighting the darkness. And you have to fight it because it's relentless. It's here before there's life. And so we have to rise up and we push this thing back so that we can live and live the life that God has called us to live. So there's light. It's good. It gets divided. It's the only thing holding the darkness back as God draws a division dam against the darkness. He then gives the darkness a name. And in the Bible, in the ancient world, when you give a thing a name, it's because you own it. Later, we'll see humans give everything on this planet its name. And that's a way of saying, I'm just like parents. Parents give their children a name. Like, you are mine. You are my child. And I am personally responsible for your life. and I have authority over your life. Because that's the other thing light and darkness symbolizes here. And that is two strands of authority, two different sources of authority. Darkness, as we'll see, has authority. It has strong power, and many people obey darkness. But light has authority, and light is going to be put in every human heart, and we're going to have the ability to follow that light if we make light our authority over us. So, okay. And the evening and the morning were the first day. Very interesting. That evening is when a day starts. You start your day in evening, and then the light dawns halfway through your day. And you get to see the conquest of the darkness. And now get out of bed and get with your opportunity. When it's dark, get inside. Cover, lock doors. Be safe. Sleep. And when the light comes, push out. Light is here now. It's in your favor. So go for that. All right. So that's sort of the wrap up of where I want to take the Bible study. But now, if you want to know more, I want to go down deeper because there's 8 levels of darkness. This is a study all by itself, and it is so fascinating to me, and I hope you'll stick around. 8 levels of darkness. First level of darkness that the Bible speaks of. Now you might look at that passage I just read, and you might say, oh, it's not saying all these things. And what I'm going to tell you is it's going to say all these things, because that verse that I just read to you is like there's been a field, and it's been prepared. And now we just threw seed. We threw conceptual seed in the ground of the Bible, in the ground of the human mind, in the ground of society. And this seed is going to start to germinate now and grow. And a very rich, broad body of discussion is going to arise from the Bible. It's going to go into all literature. It's going to be in every culture. And it is going to be an exploration of this topic of light versus darkness.